Folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday live on Twitch, we cover all of the breaking news in the entertainment world. We're talking film, television, MCU, DCU, all the U's. So, if you want to know what's going on in the world, stop on by every single Monday for Movie News Monday. But if you miss it live, it's okay. We always post them on YouTube, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in chat next time. Let's jump right into it, y'all. We got a lot of stuff to cover and some trailers to watch too. So for the live audience, we'll get to see some trailers. YouTube frogs, come hang out live and we get to watch trailers. All right, jumping right into it, folks. We officially have our leading cast for the Legend of Zelda movie. For those of you who don't already know, there is a live-action Legend of Zelda movie in the works from the director of the Maze Runner franchise, and officially from Miyamoto himself, we have our Zelda and our Link. Zelda will be played by Bo Braxton, and Link will be played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. These are two up-and-coming younger actors, both British, and a really fun highlight about this casting is that both of these stills are original. I love the internet and I love our internet sleuths. They actually put forth the effort to try and identify if these were shots from any recent work that these two had been in. And Nintendo did go out and confirm that these are uniquely new shots, but they are not shots from the movie. So we can safely assume this is likely from a screen test or a camera test. My initial impressions is, hey, you know, I buy it. I see Zelda here. I see Link here. They are skew younger. British makes it feel like that's kind of the vibe they're going for Hyrule. It's probably going to be like high fantasy sort of, European style, which is fine. Zelda, I think, has a British or, Hyrulean accent in the games now. I think that he will have to be blonde in order for me to buy it as Link. That's it. That's my biggest critique about this casting. Now, some folks were speculating, and even I myself was really gunning for this casting, but Hunter Schafer was thrown around for Zelda for quite some time. I think realistically for two reasons. One, she kind of looks like Zelda. And two, I mean, she is a really up and coming popular actor. I wouldn't even say up and coming. She's very established. It looks like they're going for not necessarily household names here. These are both actors with not a lot of credits to their names. They're certainly not household names yet. But I'm excited to see. We do have a release date of May 7th, 2027. We did hear that this date was pushed back a little bit, not a whole lot. Probably to just make sure that they get production up and going. I really just have no idea what this movie is going to be. There's so many incredible stories in the Legend of Zelda world that they could adapt, or they could go wholly original with it and just pick and choose all the fun elements, which ultimately is kind of what happens in Legend of Zelda anyways. So what do y'all think about this cast? I think this looks like Link and Zelda, so I will remain cautiously optimistic. It's just going to be weird to hear Link talk, man. That's going to be the weirdest part for me. Unless it's that classic, excuse me, princess. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Princess. Oh my god, this looks so much worse than I remember. This is... this was like a 90s Legend of Zelda animated series that existed. Princess. And for some reason, Link was just like a piece of shit. Look, he's drawn so nasty. He was a brunette, so hey, maybe. And he just had this awful attitude.
Excuse me, princess.
And that was his catchphrase was, excuse me, princess.
Hey, excuse me, princess. Well, excuse me. Excuse me, princess.
Oh my god. I can't. So, as long as it's not that, I'm on board. we officially have a live-action Assassin's Creed series in the works. This is coming from Netflix, and Roberto Patino and David Weiner are going to be working together on it. I am not sure how to feel about it. I think that the Assassin's Creed franchise has been successful in the video game realm, but to varying degrees. I remember the hype of the original Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2, that cliffhanger ending, like all the different components of it. They created an incredible world and incredible lore, and they just kind of like gave up on it after Assassin's Creed 3. Now, I know that there's still a lot of really popular and successful storytelling that happens within the Assassin's Creed worlds when they go back in time and have these fantastical, historical fiction journeys. But there was so much cool stuff with like I think it's called Abstergo Company or something like that. And the time travel and like the lineage component of it that they just kind of gave up on. And then they made that movie with Michael Fassbender that I completely forgot existed and still haven't seen to this day, but they tried to lean on some of that. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of what direction this is taking. Seeing a showrunner from Westworld, promising. Seeing a showrunner from Halo, concerning. And I say that, hey, look, I was a PlayStation guy, right? I was playing Assassin's Creed on my PS3. I did not have an Xbox. So I never grew up on Halo, but everyone who I know who loves the Halo franchise has told me to stay away from the Halo TV show. Because I was like, oh, I never played the games. Like, maybe this could be my way of getting into it. And don't. So Assassin's Creed is a series. Maybe it gives them the opportunity to get into there, but I'm not the most optimistic about Netflix, and I'm not the most optimistic about, this showrunning duo right now. So we have potential to see some cool things, but I am not really sure. I'm not really sure where this goes. Assassin's Creed has been a staple in the games industry for years and years. It kind of became the Call of Duty of, third person assassin sneak around type of games where you can expect one to come out every other year. And I don't know how much weight that franchise carries these days. I certainly fell out of love with it, but I don't know if I'm in the minority here. Would you watch an Assassin's Creed TV show? I would give it 2 episodes. Maybe 3. Probably just 1. Now, this is a surprise. Taika Waititi is tackling Judge Dredd. After his Akira movie failed to kind of get up and going, Taika Waititi is going back to the realm of comic books instead of manga and doing Judge Dredd. Drew Pearce, who worked on Fall Guy and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, is writing the script. And we're going to see Judge Dredd on the big screen again. This is interesting news to me. I don't see Taika as the type of artistic voice around a Judge Dredd movie. Judge Dredd, if you're not familiar, is, judge, jury, and executioner. He is essentially... it's a comic book series that became really popularized by a 80s Sylvester Stallone movie, which was just not even close to what the lore and the world was really supposed to be. And then we kind of got a The Raid style movie with Carl Urban as Judge Dredd a few years back. Gosh, that must have been 2000 something. 2012. Has it really been 13 years? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Alex Garland had written it. It was a great movie. That movie's awesome, but it's like almost like a bottle episode essentially, because the whole movie takes place in a single building. which is a fantastic way to just kind of get dropped into the world and kind of get to understand it. But of course, with that, there wasn't a lot of room to develop the lore and the universe that Judge Dredd exists in. So allegedly, Taika and Pierce are kind of looking to lean on more of the existing canon from the comic books, and their eventual goal is to create a Dredd universe that could launch in multiple avenues like television and streaming and things like that. So we will see. I'm not against this happening, because I think that, more like R-rated, high sci-fi dystopian action, like I think that has potential to be really cool. We have Running Man coming back to theaters right now. We have more movies in this category. I even think of like Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of a dystopian, dystopian R-rated action. So it could work. I'm just a little bit confused to see Taika Waititi attached to this. I know that he is kind of out of the Marvel sphere. I don't believe he's planning to return for another Thor movie. But I would love to have seen him go back to like a Jojo Rabbit style movie following the work that he's been doing recently. But we'll see. He is a talented filmmaker. I know some people are a little iffy on his work, but I'm definitely curious to see what he could do with this. Would you watch a Taika Waititi Judge Dredd movie? I think I would. James Gunn released the first official teaser poster for Supergirl, kind of poking fun at Superman's Look Up tagline with Look Out. And here we see, Millie's Supergirl sipping on a Slurpee. This is a fun tease. It immediately gives you an idea of kind of the personality that we are working up against, and kind of some of that attitude that we're going to have with Supergirl. I'm really curious to see how this movie will turn out. Supergirl used to be called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow because the film will be based on that Tom King comic book. I have purposefully tried not to read it. I kind of want to go into this movie and be surprised. But the Supergirl of this world is closer to that version of Supergirl, and coming off of watching the CW version of Supergirl, which was basically just a gender-swapped Superman, it's going to be very fun and very interesting. I remember Supergirl in one of the animated series being like a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more, having some attitude and some anger and angst, maybe validly so, coming off of her entire planet being destroyed. But it'll be fun to see this interpretation of it and how it fits in the DC universe. The small peek we got of Supergirl in the Superman movie, I enjoyed. Will it be enough to lead a whole movie? We will see. I mean, I see a clear arc, right, set up for her. Wild girl who just hit 21 and thinks they can take on the world, but is also lost from the world, and like journey to becoming a hero and a symbol and being proud of the world that they have been adopted into. I see a lot of promise there. So I'll be excited to see more. Perhaps we'll get a trailer before the end of the year. That would make sense. But until then, this is what we got, and this is pretty fun so far. We have our first official look at Avatar: Fire and Ash, which feels like late. Hello? The movie comes out in December, and this is all we have? Like, I need a trailer. We're probably going to get a trailer with Fantastic Four, but this is our first official look. Meet Varang in Avatar: Fire and Ash. I should read everything before I say it. Be among the first to watch the trailer, exclusively in theaters with Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Amazing. So I can't wait to see a trailer. Guys, I'm excited for the Avatar movies, okay? Okay? Come at me, y'all. I think it's going to be exciting. I liked Avatar when it came out. I saw it like 3-4 times in theaters like everybody did. And I liked Avatar too. Are the movies revolutionary in terms of storytelling and world building and character work? No. But are they really freaking cool and gorgeous and technologically immaculate? Absolutely. And you know what? I'm kind of actually falling into the lore that they're doing recently. I liked some of the threads that they were laying with Avatar 2. So call it a hot take if you want to. I'm actually excited for Avatar 3. And I think it's crazy that we're 5 months out and we haven't gotten anything but this teaser poster. I'm excited to see Avatar. I hope you're excited to see Avatar. I like having more movies that are designed to be seen in the big screen. So I'm excited to check this out. Next up, I have some news that is going to make some people very excited and some people very excited. Live action My Little Pony movie in the works from Amazon, MGM, and Hasbro. Same. What does this even mean? What is live? Do they know? Like, they know, right? They have to know. Like, they know. Right? They have to. Live action? Really? You're gonna set yourself up for that? This is, they gotta know. Is it still a thing? It's still a thing. It's gotta still be a thing, right? Y'all, I remember peak brony craze. I remember I had the theater's gonna smell, bro. That's crazy. I remember I had a friend who was like, no, but like honestly, like the story's actually pretty good. This was in college. We were college students. They're like, no, but honestly, like the story's really fun and it's really engaging and sweet. And I was like, do not do this. Do not try and talk me into this. Well, I will not be a brony. I will not do that. This is wild. Live action is crazy. I have no idea. I have no idea what is. I have no idea. I literally cannot wrap my head around what this is gonna be, what this is gonna look like. I mean, My Little Pony has existed for over 40 years, so I'm sure there's a story in there, but live action seems weird. Are they gonna do the Smurfs thing where they come to our world and so the whole story is gonna be like children discover the My Little Ponies and they gotta get back to their world to save Ponyland? And magic is real. And friendship is magic. Oh, and then they're gonna have a joke. They're gonna do a joke. They're gonna do a joke where there's gonna be a brony and he's gonna be like so excited. This just feels like corporate slop. And it's Amazon, so they're gonna put a bunch of money into it. And then they're gonna put it on their streaming service. And then they're gonna buy the rights to all the My Little Ponies, and they're gonna live off of the hype and put it all on the. Hollywood is testing me right now. This plus the Hot Wheels movie, plus the Monster High movie, plus they're making a Barbie animated movie to capitalize on the success of the Barbie live action movie. What are we doing? What are we doing? I'm so sick of it, dude. I'm so sick of it. And then they go, why is nobody going to the movie theater? Because this is what you're doing. I need a second. Live action. Insane. Some updates about the Harry Potter series. Allegedly, Voldemort has already been cast and will be showing up in a handful of episodes here and there. But they're trying to keep it a surprise. I like this. And in fact, hey, Hollywood, do this more. Do this more often. Give us some surprises. You know, we don't necessarily have to know the entire cast list, and we don't necessarily have to know every single detail that's happening, especially about a show that is, you know, a retelling of a story that's existed in books for years and years and has already been told in film. I like this. I like keeping this a surprise, as long as it's not going to be like some sort of big name actor that's like fully going to take you out of it, because that would be not ideal. So yeah, keep more surprises. Absolutely. I'm totally down for knowing less about a show like this before it comes out. Speaking of, we did get some new details about this show. Season 1 and 2 are going to be 6 episodes, which is interesting because I hear Harry Potter TV series and I'm thinking, wow, they're really going to drag it out and they're really going to expand on everything. 6 episodes does not seem like a lot. Now this is... Well, actually, I was going to say, this is HBO, so they're probably going to be hour-long episodes, but The Last of Us was not consistently hour-long episodes. Some episodes were like 30 minutes, some episodes were like 40 minutes, so 6 episodes, even on the low end, like about 3.5 hours, you know, 3.5 hours of storytelling per season. Why is this a show and not a movie? And it looks like seasons 1 and seasons 2 are being filmed back to back, which makes sense when you're working with a lot of child actors. You don't want them to age up very quickly. Shout out Stranger Things. It is something that's happening more often. I'm thinking about shows like Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender, or even the Percy Jackson series. Like, they are trying to speedrun that production so that their child cast does not age up too much. So, I mean, this is all interesting. I'm very curious to see what this show is actually going to look like and what the show will actually be. I want it to be good, but it's damaged goods, man. There's a huge bruise on this apple. So if you haven't heard already, Steven Colbert's Late Show has been canceled by CBS, by Paramount, and there is a lot of questions surrounding what this means, what the timing of this means, what's happening. So before we get into it, let's back up just the tiniest bit. The Late Show franchise, the Late Show name, has been a staple at Paramount, at CBS, for decades. Stephen Colbert's just the latest host. There's been a handful of different hosts over the years, and having a late night television show was, for the longest time, the staple of entertainment on television. Naturally, over the years, that has shifted with, you know, folks going to streaming, with the YouTube model, the DVR model. There's been so many transitions about the Late Show format that it's not necessarily the top of the game the same way that it used to be. Not to mention the fact that there was a huge flooding of Late Show shows for a really long time, and those numbers have been slowly dwindling. But surprisingly, out of nowhere, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert has announced that it will end next year. Now, some folks are skeptical surrounding the cancellation because of its timing. And like we like to say here, we don't talk politics on this show, but we do talk about TV and movies, and TV and movies are about politics. So the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, has penned a letter basically calling out Paramount for this suspected sort of bribery that took place in order to cancel the Late Show. And I think I'm just going to read this real quick and have it speak to itself, and we can kind of delve into it a little bit further. So on July 2nd, Paramount agreed to settle a baseless lawsuit brought against 60 Minutes and CBS News by President Trump for $16 million. On July 15, about 2 weeks later, during a regular show of The Late Show with Steven Colbert, Colbert went on air and called the settlement a big fat bribe in exchange for a favorable decision on the proposed merger between Paramount and Skydance. So I'm going to pause there really quick. So that's a lot of information. What happened here? Donald Trump, as he does, filed a lawsuit against 60 Minutes for doing what? The thing that 60 Minutes does, man, report the news. And rather than take that lawsuit into litigation and rather than drag it out into court, Paramount, the owners of Paramount, the people at the top, decided to settle the lawsuit. Settling means, hey, you know what? We'll give you some damages, we'll give you some money, and say we're good, and we'll agree we will not actually take this into litigation. We'll call it fair's fair. This is like the legal version of I accidentally bumped into your car, let me give you $100 to buff out the paint and we'll never talk about it again. The reason that Colbert called this out, and a lot of people have called this out, is that Paramount is looking to do a merger with Skydance. As we talked about last Movie News Monday, go check that out. There's a lot of Hollywood studios that are looking to consolidate and are looking to go through mergers right now, and Paramount and Skydance is one of them. Skydance is a more national company where Paramount is very established in the United States, so this merger would be very helpful to expand their global reach, but also to give Skydance a much more cemented leg in specifically the news arm in the United States. The whole CBS brand is very, very tempting to them. So a giant merger like this, like all giant mergers, do have to go through the FTC. They do have to get approved in order to go through. And who's in charge of the FTC? The Federal Trade Commission? The federal government. Who is running the federal government right now? President Donald Trump. So if you're gonna go through a massive merger that is dependent on the administration's team, and you're currently in a legal battle with the administration, it would make sense to basically call it even, right? So a lot of folks are calling out this behavior, and Steven Colbert on his show, where he has been very vocal and critical of the Trump administration for basically forever. And this should be no surprise. Steven Colbert became a household name from running a satirical right-wing satire comedy show on Comedy Central for years and years and years. Steven Colbert called it out. And then less than 48 hours later, back to the statement here, on July 17th, Paramount canceled The Late Show with Steven Colbert, a show currently performing first in its time slot, giving vague references to the program's financial performance as the only explanation. The Writers Guild of America has significant concerns that The Late Show's cancellation is a bribe, sacrificing free speech to curry favor with the Trump administration as the company looks for merger approval. So this is the concern. This is the fear that's happening right now. If this is the case, that Paramount is canceling The Late Show as a curry of good favor to the Trump administration, that is concerning. That is concerning because Paramount is an owner of an entertainment branch that hires artists and hires writers and hires commentators and comedians and hosts and gives them the ability to express themselves freely for general audience consumption, general entertainment, general knowledge, education, whatever you want to call it. Paramount is a massive brand that owns entertainment arms, it owns news arms, it owns local news arms, and is trying to complete a merger with a company that has a more global reach. So if this company is making a decision to silence a voice that is critical of the administration in order to curry favor with the administration, That is concerning. And that is why a lot of folks are kind of looking around and why the WGA is calling out, hey, we need to look into this, because if this is what's happening, that's a really big deal. That's a really big deal. So the question is that what's happening? Now, here we have an article that came out in Puck that kind of looked into this a little closer and tried to figure out, talking to insiders, looking at the data, is this cancellation actually a bribe and actually rooted in some more sinister politics, or is this a decision that's acknowledging the current state of late night television? As I mentioned earlier, late night shows do not have the same weight that they used to. It used to be, if you wanted to know what movie was coming out, if you wanted to know what actors were in a movie and the behind the scenes stories and everything like that, you would go to your favorite late night show. If it was the Tonight Show, the Late Show, etc., etc. Now the case is so much more different. You have direct access to these actors through social media channels. Some of them are making vlogs and telling stories during the behind the scenes of the movie. Some of them are doing hours and hours of junkets with influencers, local outlets, larger publications, niche platforms, and they're telling these stories time and time again. You have hosts of the late shows who have been around for quite some time and maybe don't carry the same weight with this generation. I'm thinking, the Jimmy Fallon NFT clip or things of that nature, right? So is this a format that is successful anymore to the degree that it needs to be to continue to carry on? So this is what this article took a look at, and we're going to take a look at it too. So some things that they highlighted here, and I highlighted as well. So the decision to cancel The Late Show came specifically from the co-CEO of Paramount. George Cheeks is the one who pulled the trigger. And CBS executives had been talking about the future of The Late Show for months. This was not recent, allegedly. This was not recent, and this had been in discussion actively far before the settlement went through and far before Colbert called out that settlement on his show. The Late Show had been losing more than $40 million a year for CBS. So this show has not been turning profit for quite some time. Even though their average numbers is 2.47 million viewers at night, it is doing great in its time slot. And even though it just got its 9th consecutive Emmy nomination, the ad revenue is significantly down. And this is kind of exactly what we're talking about. Folks are not watching cable television to the same degree. So if they're not watching it live, ad buyers are not going to be putting more money into that. And that's going to show. So the Times reported that late night shows combined in 2018, so pre-COVID, had $439 million in ad revenue. But last year, it dropped by more than 50%. Measure that against more than $100 million per season it costs to produce The Late Show. This is kind of pointing to a lot of signs of, hey, is this sustainable? Is this a platform, and is this a format that is sustainable for the long term? So The Late Show was not running well on Paramount Plus. Of all the other late night shows, was not doing as good on YouTube, not doing as good on social media, which again, significantly smaller ad revenue compared to the actual primetime television spots. And celebrity interviews, all that kind of stuff, it's not hitting the same type of way. So, this article points out in a way that honestly I can kind of see and I can kind of understand the perspective. From a business perspective, it just maybe doesn't make sense to continue to pay for The Late Show. So, several sources at both CBS and Skydance insist that the decision was economical and not political, and this was something that came out with Paramount's official statement, that financial reasons was the reason that the show was not moving forward. And some people really point out that if this really was politically motivated, Cheeks would have pulled Colbert off the air rather than giving him 10 more months. So they claim there is no conspiracy. If it was a politically motivated firing, do we not think that it would have just been a sudden firing as opposed to this announcement of, hey, this will be the final season? So lots of things to consider there as far as what could actually be happening. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on it. Do you feel as though this is Paramount and Skydance kind of coming to the decision that this is a format that's not sustainable for the future, and now's the time to kind of make the decision that we're not going to carry forward with this late show format? Or could this have been a politically motivated decision that says, hey, we're not going to stand by this voice and this sort of dissenting voice when we're trying to curry favor with the current political administration? For me, I truly can see both sides of it, and I do believe that the truth could exist in the middle. It's very likely that they were seriously considering terminating the late show and retiring this format. I do think it's crazy that they're just outright going with this IP and getting rid of it. The late show has been a staple for my entire life and a lot of people's entire lives, so that's crazy to me that there's just not going to be a late show anymore. But maybe that's just a sign of the times that we're in, and we don't really need a late show. I mean, you think about people like Conan O'Brien, who had his late night spot. He had the Tonight Show for a very brief period. There's a lot of drama there that you can look into. But now he's doing even more successfully as a podcaster on like Substack and things like that. So maybe we just don't need this type of format anymore. But that being said, I do think maybe the decision to make the call now as opposed to later maybe was a little bit of an emotional reaction to some of the things that Colbert had said, and it hit a little bit close to home. So I don't know. We will see. We got a few more months with Colbert. I'm sure he's going to make his voice heard. And I wish the absolute best to the 200 people that are on staff at the Late Show in finding their next work, because it's hard to get some work right now. So wishing them the absolute best, and we will see where things go from there. Moving on to some Marvel news. Folks, we have now entered the Marvel section of this broadcast. Little bit of quick news to knock out of the way. First things first, John Malkovich has been cut from the Fantastic Four. This is a little bit disappointing. John Malkovich is obviously a very popular actor, but he's also an actor who famously has been very hesitant to get involved in the superhero world, and finally decided he would with the Fantastic Four. He was going to be playing the villain Red Ghost, which is a smaller villain. I imagine his role was very minimal and ultimately something that could be cut from the movie without impacting it too greatly. So a lot of folks speculated about this. It's very funny. Initially, when he appeared in the first teaser trailer, some people were thinking, oh, this is Franklin Richards from the future and everything. No, he was playing a completely different character that ultimately is not making it in the final cut of the film. So sorry, John Malkovich. Maybe we'll get to see those deleted scenes one day. And hopefully you come back to give it another shot in the superhero world. And folks, do not panic, but Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed again. Before you panic, do not panic. It's only been pushed by a few weeks to June 25th, 2027. So we're still 2 years away, which is crazy. But the reason that it was pushed back, confirmed here by producer Chris Miller, is a better IMAX window. And folks, I feel like in the past, few months, I will say post Sinners and post that Ryan Coogler explainer video, I think people are really starting to understand the benefits of IMAX. And so I think I would love to go see this movie in IMAX. And as I understand it, Beyond the Spider-Verse is being specifically animated for the IMAX format. And I believe it will be the first animated movie to be specifically designed and animated for IMAX, as opposed to just being, blown up to IMAX size. So when you watch a movie, there is a distinction of like filmed for IMAX and filmed in IMAX. Those are very different things. This will be the first animated movie that is filmed in IMAX, essentially. So that's fair. That's fair. A few more weeks. Folks, we've waited years. We can wait a couple more weeks, okay? It's not going to be too bad. Although I am a little bit sad about it. But folks, that's it for today. We had a lot of Marvel news. We had a lot of interesting tidbits come out, all leading up to the release of Fantastic Four. So I'll be really excited to check that out. And that's also going to wrap it up for Movie News Mondays. So like I said, we do this live on Twitch every single Monday. If you ever want to talk about stories, share stories that you find interesting, stop by the chat, make sure you say hi. But otherwise, these always go up on YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe so that you can see whenever these go up. If you are curious about the entertainment industry, the business world, the how and the why things happen, make sure you stop by. We love kind of taking these deep dives into what is happening in the world of entertainment, because as fun as it is and as much as we enjoy it, it is also a business, but it's an artistic business. So it's a weird world out there. Folks, thanks for watching Movie News Monday. I hope to see you next Monday. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you at the movies.